Welcome to Traffic and Conversion Summit training. My name is Bethany Cowan, and I am your programming manager for Traffic and Conversion Summit. So if this is your first T&C training, welcome. We are so happy that you're here, and it's so wonderful to see everyone that's joining us today. So why are we here? We wanted to get you ready for the mind-blowing strategies and tactics at T&C in September, whether you're joining us on site or virtually, and we found the perfect training to get you fired up and ready to learn. We're so excited to kick off today 5-star virtual engagement for speaking and selling to diverse audiences. So today is all about how to host positive, engaging, and transformational virtual meetings. Virtual meetings aren't going away, obviously. So we want to learn how to authentically connect with and influence diverse audiences. And we're going to learn how. We're going to learn the 5-star virtual engagement framework and how to apply it. It's a lot to keep up with, which is why we're so lucky to have Kemy Joseph talk us through it all and give us some tips that we can actually apply immediately that are going to help us build trust and make a profound positive impact on your audience. So Kemy Joseph is the CEO and DEI Strategist at F.E.A.R.S Advantage LLC, and he's on a mission to help 5 million business leaders advance equity in their organizations by 2030. You guys are actually about to experience this yourselves, but Kemy is known for bringing empathy, hope, and productivity to every presentation and conversation, which is why we're so glad he's here today and that he's going to be joining us at Traffic and Conversion Summit in just a few weeks. So really excited to dive in, but before we kick off, we need to cover a couple housekeeping things. So guys, make sure to use the chat function to submit your questions. I will be collecting questions as we go for Kemy, and we're going to get all your questions answered when it comes time for Q&A. We'll also be launching polls throughout the presentation, so go ahead and select your answer and we'll have all the results to ponder after that. Guys, we want to make sure that you get the most out of this webinar, so feel free to absorb the content in whatever way best suits you. And as always, we will have a recording up for you to devour in just a couple days. Whew, okay, that's a lot from me. I'm super excited to shut up and get out of the way. So excited to welcome, without any further ado, please welcome Kemy Joseph. Kemy, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. I'm fired up from the introduction you just gave. I'm like, yeah, I love that guy.
I love that. I'm so excited to hear what you have today. Okay, let's do the dreaded screen share. Let's make sure that we can get all of our stuff up and running,
Yes.
ready to go. We're excited to see what you have to share today.
Fantastic. So you are now seeing the screen that says 5-star virtual engagement.
It looks amazing. I can't wait to dive in.
Fantastic.
All
Well,
right,
thank you
Kemy,
so
I'll
much,
be here the
Bethany.
whole time. I'm going to go dark and let you do your thing. See you soon.
Yes. Thank you, Bethany. And thank you, everybody, for making the time to be here to learn about 5-star virtual engagement. And especially for those of you who are coming for the summit, I'm excited to be a part of kicking this off for you, kind of like a pre-game, pre-party situation. As Bethany mentioned, my name is Kemy Joseph, CEO of F.E.A.R.S Advantage, and F.E.A.R.S stands for Fuel, Equitable Actions, Relationships, and Systems. So we're always doing some incredible work. We're focusing right now on diversity, equity, inclusion, which causes a lot of fear for people. And even as we're having this conversation about virtual engagement for diverse audiences, you need to understand from our perspective, diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI, we're practicing this every single day, even as we communicate to individuals. So anytime you're speaking to another human being that's already a diverse human being, a diverse person, when we can include them in conversation, when we allow their voice to drive our conversations, to drive our meetings, to drive our sales process, we are practicing DEI. When we're not doing those things, we are not practicing it, or we're having more inequities that get in our way of actually supporting diverse individuals and especially selling and marketing to diverse individuals. So I want to be able to put this into the big perspective of talking not just about engagement, but why? Why do we engage? If you're here for engagement's sake, that's going to feel fake. A lot of times folks told me in the very beginning of quarantine, help me go online, Kemy, I want to go online. And I asked them, what does that mean for you to go online? And I want to stop my screen share so you can make sure you can see me fully. What does that mean for you to go online? For me, 2019, before COVID kind of rocked our world, I was at the peak of my speaking career, and I'd been working for 15 years to be a speaker, and I was finally getting booked and traveling over 150 days, living this dream, and I was planning to double that even in 2020. So as soon as COVID knocked us all out of our flow, out of our lives, out of our goals. I remember being right here in this office and just teary-eyed, like crying because every email that was saying cancellation, cancellation, postpone, it just felt like another dagger in my back that my dream was being killed, that my dream was dead. And fortunately, I have an incredible support system of folks. And I always give a shout out to one of my mentors, Dan Bland, as we spoke right here in my office. And I told him everything I just shared with you, how I felt like my dream was dying. He's like, Kemy, let's reframe this. Your dream is not dead. The dream might feel denied right now, but it's not denied either. The dream is simply delayed. And that's all I needed to hear. I was like, okay, cool. If the dream is delayed, my focus has to be on what can I do differently in order to keep the momentum. So when the world comes back to a new normal or whatever this is going to be, I can still be on track for the dream that I want. So what that looked like for me to go online was figuring out, how do I bring all this engagement? 15 years of being a speaker means I've spoken to elementary all the way up to the elderly, and really figure out what are the tools that I can bring online in order to continue to provide value, continue to be engaging and exciting as I can be, as I would be in person. So what I want you to be thinking about, even at the high level here, when talking about virtual engagement, it's understanding who do you want to bring, how do you want to bring yourself online in an authentic way, and then the why behind it. So as I'm going to do this next screen share, I want you to just put one word in the chat. What's one word you would want people to feel in your virtual presentations? And anytime I mean virtual presentations, it could be a whole virtual event, a webinar, a meeting, a one-on-one call, whatever it is, go ahead and put in the chat. What's one word you would want people to feel when they're with you in a virtual space? My one word is significance. I want people to feel significant when they're with me. No matter what platform, no matter what's between us, I want to make sure people feel significant. So you can pop those words in the chat and I'll go back to the screen share.
We got some amazing answers coming through, Kemy. I want to share with you.
So far, yes.
Yeah, they want to feel gotten. They want to feel like understood, like you get me, right?
Yeah.
Want to feel connected. Want to feel fulfilled. Cecilia says empowered.
Oh, let's go.
I love that. Elena says engaged, and Karmjeet says connected. I think those are all gorgeous. Yeah.
I love these words, and the reason I want to find out I want folks to feel, because that's some of the why, right? When they're with us, when people are giving us their time, their attention is the most valuable thing that they can be giving us, because if we're asking folks to pay attention, that means we're asking them to buy into something. So when you hear from me, and I put this in perspective of Fear's Advantage, I consider myself a salesman for hope and change. So no matter what, anytime you see me, I want to make sure I can provide a vehicle for hope, provide an opportunity for change, and whether you actually pay us for a product or service, I really want folks to walk away feeling like they receive some more hope and change. That's the value that I want to always be able to offer. And I'm going to put one big picture in front of you to help you understand the work that we do, and then drive straight into the virtual engagement to make sure you can walk away with tools to help people feel the way that you just described. So from that perspective, the bigger picture of the work we do is all about creating more equity. So we call this equity pathways, and saying every single human being, every person you want in your calls as a human being, yeah, they might be a potential customer or client, or they might be a whole organization that you're selling to, but it's a human being that you're speaking to, or multiple human beings. And every single human being needs our support to develop equity, and equity in several ways: family equity, housing equity, career equity, social relational equity, economic equity, educational equity. This is going to go on. Governmental equity, environmental equity, health and mental health, and then spiritual, religious equity, and then legal equity. Now, the reason I want to share this on the high level is that anytime we are selling somebody something, we generally, as entrepreneurs, get paid to help people solve problems. And if we want to have the lifetime value of a client or a customer or organization, it's about how many problems can we help them solve in a strategic way as we go through the lifetime of our relationship. And so from that perspective, for us in diversity, equity, inclusion, since it's so complicated, we try our best to make it simple for folks and saying, we have all these equity pathways that we're on. Fear's Advantage, we are focused on career equity, and I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. But in every single one of these pathways, people need what is called an equity ladder, going from awareness, access, opportunity, safety, belonging, resources, development, advancement, autonomy, and legacy. Now we don't have as much time to dive into this, but I need you to know where this conversation is really going. The why for us is making sure that every time that I engage with somebody, we're helping them along this journey in multiple aspects of their lives. For us at F.E.A.R.S Advantage, we are specifically focused on career equity. So when we talk about those 5 million leaders, we're generally working on organizations and working with businesses to really help them fuel career equity and making sure that every person who works for you, right? If you're a solopreneur, you got to make sure for sure yourself, you give yourself this equity pathway, this ladder for yourself in your career. But definitely when you employ people, we also have to consider the same thing. And from that perspective, what we'll be looking at is providing awareness of opportunities that are available, especially opportunities to grow inside of your organization, access to those opportunities, then the ability to participate in those opportunities to really to grow and develop, which is going to lead us to this next piece of also people feeling safe in your presence, people feeling safe in whatever your processes you're taking them through. Notice that belonging is after safety. Have to have this foundational level of safety for then people to belong. As the world is calling for more belonging right now, we're saying, yes, we have to build up the safety for more people to belong. We don't have to agree to belong, but we have to feel safe to belong. And then we're starting to go to this level of providing people with resources and tools so they can do the jobs that we hire them for. And then the development as a human being, but also the development in your organization, the advancement to go to the highest tiers, highest levels in your organization, and then the ability to have autonomy and legacy. Most of us start organizations or work in order to have financial freedom. Are we giving people a chance to do that inside of our organizations? This is what we really do as F.E.A.R.S Advantage to make sure that people have a company culture that is by design instead of by default. By default, you do not get these things. I'll tell you right now. By design, you can. So this is the real work that we're doing. And the 5-star virtual engagement is both a vehicle to this as well as kind of part of the pieces of the puzzle. And the reason this is super important for us today is because when we talk about career equity, we saw that when COVID shut down businesses, it shut down a lot of people's lives and we were severely impacted. So with career equity, when we give more and more people access to thriving inside of our organizations and in their careers, then we actually can help the whole human being. So this is the bigger mission that I'm selling and the bigger vision that we've casted for all of our clients so they understand where we're really going. For you, what's really important to know when we're talking about career equity and you're trying to sell something to a prospect, it's important to know that another layer of career equity in terms of running a business is providing consumer equity. Providing your consumers, every one of your customers, your clients, whatever you call them, the people who are paying you, we have to be able to provide them a path of awareness, access, opportunity, safety, belonging, and then giving them those other pieces. I'm going to share how, to me, the Traffic and Conversion Summit, even though it's our first year here, how they're already doing a version of this. You already locked me in, locked F.E.A.R.S Advantage in as lifetime consumers, a lifetime customers for the Traffic and Conversion Summit. Because one, we talk about the awareness. I've been coordinating with Bethany for the last couple of months, and really I appreciate how Bethany has shown us what is available at the summit, what we will get as a speaker, how we can provide a value, how we can get access to the other speakers and other sessions. Then giving us the access and even helping coordinate our logistics for getting there and making sure that we know what's happening and when things are happening, the opportunity to not only speak at the summit, speak again on a virtual stage and speak here with you today to make sure we can provide value, the safety. We're still in friggin' COVID times, right? It's just still happening, but making sure that every one of us who arrives there is also safe. And that's a huge undertaking. I've not only spoken at multiple events, I've helped to coordinate a lot of events, not at this scale, so I can understand how complicated this is. And also the ability to belong is something they're providing to all of us as speakers, even in the way that they create the promotional material, making sure that we get a chance to be the forward-facing people, even though there's big names like Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart coming. People like, Kemy, you're speaking there? Like, yeah, I belong there too, right? And then the resources I can go on and on and on about what they're doing, but you get a sense that even in this kind of context, we've only known the Traffic and Conversion Summit and been talking to Bethany for a few months now, but I can already see the pathway they're providing us for me to be able to leave a legacy there as an individual, and for our organization to have that kind of impact for everybody who's watching. That's a huge opportunity. So I just want to give a round of applause. I know we can't see everybody there, but please give your props to the traffic and conversion planning team. And Bethany, I spoke with them both. I know Adam is back there. Just thank you all for that. And because I need people to understand, we're either doing that or we're not doing it. A lot of groups are not doing it and wondering, why can I get more clients? How come people don't come to my events? How come I can't get the same attention? Really look at the success leaves clues. And so we're going to talk about 5-star virtual engagement because it is going to help you make sure that as you're solving problems for people, you can engage them in a way that goes from this level of awareness all the way to thriving. Engagement for engagement's sake will feel fake, but engagement on the path to thriving, that's exciting. So you can type the word exciting in the chat if you feel like that's exciting. You can see why I'm super fired up. Now, I'm going to pause on this portion because I want to get into the 5-star virtual engagement, but I need you to know where we're going and that you can help to cast this vision for any of your sales teams and for the people that are really touching base with your clients, because the hardest thing is that in a time where so many people feel unsafe, there are still companies, there are still salespeople who are using tactics that are either divisive or tactics that that make you that I personally experienced as making me feel dumb for asking questions, small, not good enough. I'm like, I'm trying to pay you money, right? Why are you treating me this way? It doesn't make sense. In a world that we have so many more options, you're going to lose customers unless you're helping them feel like they're safe and they belong, that they can trust you. So I know I've shared quite a bit here, and I want to launch a poll to help understand a little bit about who's in the room and what you're up to. So we'll go ahead and launch the first poll, which talks about the types of virtual presentations that you facilitate the most often. Just go ahead and take a moment. I'll play some background music. All right, so the poll is closed, and we have an interesting split here. We have one-on-one calls, group meetings, workshops and trainings, and then about 9% of y'all are voting on keynote speeches. Okay, fantastic. So I want to be able to make sure when we talk about the 5-star virtual engagement that we are looking at this from multiple perspectives, since there's multiple different types of delivery in this room. And so when we talk about 5-star virtual engagement, our process has the 5 stars mean connection, communication, collaboration, creativity, and confidence. How do we bring connection, collaboration, communication, collaboration, creativity, and confidence to our 5-star virtual event? So you notice there's 5 stars, and I have several tips and tricks, several resources for each one, but I need your help again to help focus it down. So we're already going to cover what it looks like in the one-on-one spaces and the group spaces, in the trainings, as well as in the keynotes. So give me a sense on this next poll. We're going to launch the second poll here to focus on what are your problems or pain points that we can help you with. Again, music. Okay, interesting. So we have, and let me screenshot this, Adam, before you take it down. So we have here that which of these problems would you consider to be your greatest problems? We have being authentic and confident online, building trust in virtual spaces, getting participation during presentations, and then making my presentations unique. So no one has any problems facilitating team building activities. This is interesting. All right, cool. Sounds good. We will then focus in on these elements, and I want to make sure I can have it. So thank you so much, Adam, for popping up the poll. I grabbed the screenshot. Super helpful. Now let's then, this is the first time that we will go out of order because so usually I go from connection, communication, I go down the list. I want to start, we're going to go a little bit of out of order to make sure that we can really create what you need. And so we'll cover only a few of these and then making sure that you walk away with these problems solved. Because I said for us as entrepreneurs, it's all about how do we solve problems, and the more problems we can solve, especially engaging people and giving them tools to build capacity and autonomy and legacy, like that's how we get that lifetime value. So thank you for the opportunity to provide you with value today. And we'll jump into this one here about building trust with connection. So we'll start with connection, which for us is about building trust. And there's 5 keys to this. So set the tone, build comfort, show your face, share stories, and create agreements. Now, this part alone can cover most of what you'll ask for, but I'll make sure I still get a high level so I can give you a couple of the other stars. Now, it's important here when we set the tone. When we're engaging somebody for the first time, as we talk about making first impressions, we actually have multiple times to continue making impressions, even though a lot of us focus on the first impression. The first impression generally will set the tone, and what I mean by set the tone for us in the work of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, is very intense. It's very heavy, very frustrating. But generally, when people come into our trainings, we have music playing, like you just heard a moment ago. You're going to see a smiley face. You're going to see my face. You're going to see the interactions that we're having in the chat and asking people to play along on a journey and casting a vision. Right? You just saw me do all of this or a lot of this when you were in this presentation. I want to set the tone. That's one of appreciation and one that is a journey, really encapsulating the journey that we're about to go on. And I want to build comfort. Building comfort is a lot about the language that we're using too. Right? We will generally use invitational language. We think about challenges by choice, challenges by choices. We're going to have multiple choices. So even if you're coming to a training, like we do trainings on implicit bias, we do really heavy duty conversations, and we seek to make them fun, and we build comfort by giving people small ways to get involved and keep building the momentum. It's called being in the accomplishment zone, right? That we're getting people into the accomplishment zone. And a version of this, if you want to think about how powerful the accomplishment zone is, have you ever been like watching a movie or even being in a TV show that you're halfway through, you're like, man, this sucks. Why am I still watching this? Part of the reason we watch it because we want to see how it ends. We want to see the next step. We want to even get that sense of fulfillment. So are we building that from the very beginning in terms of building on our content, making sure people know that we're going to build a comfortable ride, as comfortable as change can be. We're going to build a ride for them and making sure that they can participate along the way, especially in this virtual world where people drop out. We want to make sure that even if someone comes halfway through, they can still catch up, so to speak, and be along that journey in a comfortable way. And show your face. I'm going to stop screen sharing for a moment. I will say that I am pretty new to the Go to webinar platform, which is why we share strategies and tools that are platform agnostic, so you can use them all anywhere you need. But I would tell you to show your face, because when people are just hidden behind slides, then we don't actually get a chance to connect with a human being on the other side. And I know this is ironic because I can't see all of you, but I want to make sure that you can see me, that you can look directly in my eyes. So if you are showing your face, please make sure that you're looking at the camera, because sometimes we do this where we're like, oh yeah, I'm talking to you and it's great, and we have the side screen, but we're not actually looking at the person. Or when we show our face, we're kind of showing our virtual Zoom face, or when we're looking for something, we're like, what? Like, we're not communicating the energy that we actually want to communicate. And I'll tell you that only 7% of communication is the words that we speak. That means that 93% of communication is how we're showing up. But we're actually the energy that we're bringing even through the camera. So show your face and really set the tone with how you are communicating. And this is also with the communication, we generally are using gender neutral language. So you won't hear me say you guys, you will hear me say things like y'all, you'll hear me say things like folks or everyone, because we're getting in a time where I don't need to have a debate with every single person on pronouns, but I want to make sure that my pronouns are inclusive. Just unless I'm in a room where I know every single person there is all guys, everyone said, great, this is how I identify as a male. That's the only time that you'll hear me use that. Generally, you'll hear me say folks, everyone. Most people are cool with folks or everyone or y'all. And somebody said to me, Kemy, we were in a training, and this is when we were back live, and the person said, Kemy, this pronoun conversation is very stressful, and like you're offering y'all, and I feel like if I say y'all, I sound like someone who's from the South. And I'm like, yo, I'm from the South. What are you trying to say? Well, they couldn't get the words out, but they were concerned of how they would sound if they were trying to change the y'all. I was like, you're concerned about how you sound, or are you concerned about how people are receiving your language and how that might be repelling folks? If we're talking about building virtual engagement for diverse audiences, especially people we can't see, let's just assume that the people are diverse, and let's use more language that sets the tone and builds the comfort for everybody to be in that room. That's what's helping to build trust. And then I'll just share a couple pieces on this last two about share stories. Whenever you share a story, get to the what. You can put that in the chat. Get to the yes, exactly. Get to the point. Get to the point. A different version of get to the point is also take us into a room or take us into a moment. And when you share a story, even if it's trivial, take folks into a moment. So earlier I shared a story where I talked about the chaos of all the cancellations and what I perceived to be the death of my dream. And I told you that I was right here in this office. And I did that intentionally to kind of anchor you into a place that you're seeing and can say, oh, I could see how Kemy could be struggling in the same room that he's now using as a platform for virtual engagement to talk with people all over the world. So take us into a moment that's going to really encapsulate the point of what you're trying to make, and then use that moment to then move us forward. Some people share really, really long stories or share their most depressing story. If you're seeking to relate with somebody and to build that trust, sometimes sharing common stories. Like I adopted a COVID dog and I share about my COVID dog. And people are like, me too, I got one. Or people can relate to having a dog. People can also relate to the fear of having a dog, or of not having a dog, or I should say the fear of, like, with my family, we did not have pets growing up. And so when I adopted my dog, my mom, who's my greatest hero, was like, what are you doing? What's this? You're the first one in our family to have a dog, but this little dog has taught me so much about inclusion, including adopting a dog who cannot understand the language that I'm speaking, but can respond to my energy. So it doesn't matter about the language we're speaking. That's only 7%. People will adopt our energy and our presence. So I'll pause here and put the screen share back on. Bethany, what are you taking away from this, and what have folks been sharing in the chat in terms of what they're taking away from this?
Yeah, 100%. Just getting a lot of feeling the same way about trying to make that connection. I think the thing you said about the discomfort with the pronoun language, that's something that's coming a lot right now. And what I like about what you said, think about how your language is being received. I think sometimes there's this fear of, I don't want to present myself using language that makes it seem like I'm trying to be someone I'm not. Like I'm trying to say y'all, but that's not who I am. Well, it's thinking about, okay, if you don't want to represent it, you think about representing yourself as somebody you're not, but then your listener is like, well, you're referring to me as someone that I'm not, right?
Let's go.
So that's one thing that stuck out to me. Karmji says, loving this, especially the info on bringing the story alive and getting to the point fast and then moving that journey forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Karmji. So yeah, excited to dive into the next one. Now, Karmji also said, when we went through our top challenges, right? Community was one that or community engagement is one that nobody hit. He's like, that's my number 2 challenge though. That's my number 2. So I want to hear a little bit more about that if there's time, right? So don't know if there's gonna be time to hit all 5, but he did want to put that in the chat that he would have selected it if he could have 2 options.
I love how you slid that one in. This is my second challenge.
Yeah. All right, Cecilia just dropped a comment in. Eye contact builds trust. I love that you seem to be looking directly at the camera, and that's a challenge I have too.
Yeah.
Looking directly at the camera. How do you literally get that eye level effect virtually? So this is a technical question, I
Yeah,
guess.
now we're getting into the technical piece.
How do you make it look real and authentic? So I'm not looking at myself on the screen. I'm looking at you at the camera, right?
Okay, so let's dive into that. So, and then I love the point of like, this is my second challenge. As I mentioned before, we get into the kind of problem solution model that we solve one problem that keeps on building. So you can just come back. This is what we're talking about. You come on back, or you see me in the summit, and we'll talk about solving other problems. And then we will talk
100%.
about the camera piece right now. So thank you so much, Bethany. So let's dive back in. And so this will close out this portion on connection. And so to that point, as we look at let's see, I want to jump for you because y'all were asking about the camera. This is a conversation that really gets built by everybody. So let's talk a little bit more about collaboration here. So we'll bring them all back here. So again, we just touched on connection. We'll go into collaboration right now. And for the collaboration portion, now there's several things that you can do to spark collaboration, and this is about building that community. And so could we just touch a little bit about the authenticity and then building the trust? I want to focus on building community because community is attracted to authenticity, right? That's how we start to build our community. We feel like we belong with those folks. But then the trust is what really holds us together. Because when we break trust, even in a virtual space, I mean, this has been the time where people can literally just like fade to black and they're out. It's so easy for folks to disengage. So the community is what's going to keep us together. Now, in terms of building the community, we're going to talk a little bit about dialogue, having shared vision, check-ins, action, and intimacy. And I'm going to load these up on the screen so you can see there's some technical things that we can do because y'all have been asking a little bit about the tech, about using chat, whiteboards, polls, activities, and then even using breakout rooms. So with dialogue, right now we have more of a monologue, right? I'm speaking to you all in the webinar format. In terms of creating dialogue, I really appreciate that Bethany's willing to hop on camera and share from your perspective. Like Bethany's doing a great job also being an MC. Jimmy Nelson, one of my other mentors, Jimmy Nelson, mentioned that an MC is essentially the audience on stage. So whenever I'm an MC, how do I make sure that just even though the audience may not be able to share in an actual speaking experience, I as the MC can reflect what I think the audience is feeling. I can share words out of the chat. I can make sure that we bring the audience on stage and be that person to react, because that's one way to create dialogue if you're in a virtual setting where you can actually have people unmute themselves and share on the microphone. If you can have that, being able to actually have dialogue when giving folks a chance to share, and even setting time, like, hey, we'll take a minute to hear from one person, and that one person can share for a minute, and really creating a listening environment. A listening environment is super important. This is important because when we're talking about solving problems, if we listen closely enough, people tell us how to solve their problems or how to help them solve their problems. So the dialogue, we also got to make sure we're listening, which helps us to have a shared vision. Another way to create a dialogue is to use the chat, which is we can talk about calls to comment and giving people very specific ways that they can participate in the chat. Part of creating a shared vision, I started earlier, I'm like, here's a vision of what we're actually here to do, and this is one piece of the bigger vision. So shared vision is what we actually say, but also using things like whiteboards or screen shares to make sure we're looking at the same thing as we're going. And please confirm that people can see what you want them to see. I just did a presentation last week where I was going on for like 6-7 minutes, and like, Kemy, we can't see your screen share. I was like, okay, shared vision. We have to make sure people can see where they're going, because most of us need to know where we're going if we especially if if we want those customers to pay us in a certain way, they have to pay their ride on the journey. The piece around action is again with that building comfort, especially when we're in a virtual space. If we want folks to be able to take certain action, are we priming them in their mind? Are we casting a shared vision where they can see themselves taking the action that we want them to do at the end of our presentation? So and sometimes in presentations, I'm talking about building, doing community building, we will have people do actions. Like one of my favorites called Bust a Move, and we'll have folks kind of take turns doing a move like to music, and then everybody else will follow behind them, and it's a pretty fun thing. But that comes towards the end of some of our workshops because we have to build the comfort, build the action step by step for then people to feel comfortable doing that on Zoom. So some of you are like, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. So yeah, come to one of our workshops and watch it happen. And then by the time you're in it, you're like, oh, I love this. I'm so glad we got a chance to do this. Same thing if we're trying to ask our customers or prospects to buy something from us at the end of a call. Are we giving them examples of people who have used our process or our program or our product? Are we demonstrating that through our stories connected to? Are we casting a shared vision that by the end, when we say, hey, let's take action, here's your opportunity to take action, people are like, thank goodness, I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for you to quiet and give me a chance to take action. We have to build up to that and keep them into the accomplishment zone. And this is part of the reason I love using activities and using breakout rooms for even people to be able to get a chance to connect and chat. And what's important is when we're using breakout rooms or giving people a chance to get on the microphone, this is for us to be able to build that intimacy. So the eye contact is a part of that intimacy, but knowing not everybody likes eye contact, right? I love it. And I'm looking here right out, explain how you can do this on your own. But it's important that intimacy can look like a lot of different things. It can be vulnerable. It doesn't necessarily have to be vulnerable. One of the most intimate things that we do with people is also laugh. Like to actually have a bond where we think the same thing is funny and we laugh. That's another version of intimacy. For me, I try to get a whole range of experiences that get people to connect. I love the intimacy that says, into me you see. This is why I look at the camera. If you want to be looking at your camera, right now I have a standing desk so I can raise it up and down. I built a whole studio to be able to bring this experience to life. But what you can do is either get an independent camera if you want to have it at a higher level so you can be looking as you're standing, or even people have put their laptop on books. People get really creative about that. So the point is, what do you need? If you're sitting down, that's fine too. Usually I'm sitting down, but I also put my screens over here so that way I can be looking directly at the camera. This took quite a bit of trial and measure. So there's no way I can explain exactly how to do it until I see your setup and understand what you're actually working with. But to the point being, if you want that intimacy, you have multiple ways to get there. And even if your camera setup isn't fancy, you can be doing these other pieces that are on this slide to make sure that people feel like they can connect with you. And because they're connected with you, they then are connected to a community through you. That's the belonging piece that is possible online. We just have to be very intentional. So I'll pause there, right? I know I shared quite a bit. Bethany, I'll invite you to pop back up and see what folks are sharing before we close out this portion.
Absolutely. We've got some people that have definitely tried the laptop on books things. That it works. It really works. It seems, pretty lo-fi, but it does the trick, and as long as you're getting that connection, you're getting that eye to eye, that helps a lot. Yeah. Yeah. And the part before when we were talking about intimacy, I love when you get super quiet. So I don't know if I've ever shared this with our audience before, but in my former life, I was a choir teacher. I know you knew this about me, Kemy.
Yeah.
And there's those moments when the silence or the just barely louder than silence brings people in such an incredible way. And that kind of pattern disruptor of, we're not always just, keeping it the same level. We're bringing it down, we're bringing it up, we're experiencing all different kinds of emotions, whether it's laughter or, empathy for, sadness, that can connect people in incredibly strong way as well. And just a lot of good stuff coming through there. So yeah, I'm excited to see what's next.
To see, and this has only been 2 stars. We probably have time for one other star. But the folks, I appreciate the reflection because, as we met for the first time, even as we chatted, we got a chance to see a different layer of who we actually are, as we were talking about your choir, things that I've found over and over again. I'm in spaces where people are sharing things with me that they don't share even with their coworkers or with some of their other clients or whatnot. It's like very interesting for me to, this is part of the reason we created the 5-star virtual engagement. It's like reverse engineering. What is it that is helping folks feel more comfortable to be able to share parts of their life they don't have to, but they're excited to share? And again, all of that is continuing to increase buy-in and trust and participation as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of creating space for people to be who they are, no matter the environment. You know, if we're on a sales call, right? Like, who wants to bring their whole self to a sales call? But if it's just a conversation, you know, between two people where we're talking about how I'm going to help you solve, you know, this problem that you're having, making room for them to be who they are. And I think for me, that's what makes me feel the most connected to someone. If they let me be who I am, I want to work with them. I want to talk with them, spend more time with them.
There you go. And that's exactly why we're here. Thank you for that,
Awesome.
Bethany.
Yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
we'll get back to this slide share. So that will close us out in this portion on collaboration. I'm just grateful that we get a chance to even collaborate on this conversation together. So I want to jump to this portion on confidence. So this is a little bit of a combination between the confidence and the creativity portion, but I know most folks have been asking me about the confidence piece. And I think that was one of the higher ratings here on it too. So I want to focus on confidence. Now, with confidence, for me personally, what this means is modeling a growth mindset. This is one way to stay authentic, because I think people think like fake it till you make it. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to just know that you are making it, like you're making it as you go and as you share that with people. I think the fakeness comes when we're selling or we're saying we're doing something and we act like we have to be perfect at it. It's like, no, if I'm really modeling a growth mindset, it's okay that it's imperfect. People actually appreciate that more. I literally did a presentation on virtual engagement and I was like super excited. And then this was one of the times where there was an update on Zoom. And so all my features, everything I was ready to go for, I literally would be in the presentation, like, all right, we're going to do breakout. Okay, I guess for some reason that's not working. Okay, we're going to have you do this in a chat. Why can't y'all see the chat? It was crazy how ironic this was. But the feedback was that, wow, Kemy, it seemed like you planned this, like you planned to have these issues so you can show us how to really do it. I was like, no, that's not how I like to operate. I'm not trying to trick you into a situation. I'd rather it go smoothly. But modeling the growth mindset to me shows the confidence that I'm willing to keep learning. And as long as I'm willing to keep learning, I'm going to be able to solve problems at a whole different capacity than I did yesterday and be able to continue serving people moving forward. So from that perspective, what I'm going to encourage you to do if you want to really strengthen that confidence is to do a power prep, and I'll explain this: lift the lid, focus on serving, troubleshoot calmly, which I just went over, and ask for help. So when we're talking about power prep, this is one of my vision boards. I have multiple vision boards, but this is literally behind my camera. So when people are like, what are you looking at? I'm looking at the camera, but since I can't see, I might as well be looking at something awesome as well that kind of inspires me. I have a bunch of different reminders that I have on my computer, as well as behind my computer, behind the camera. This is part of my power prep. What's going to prepare me to be in a power place so I can show up fully and I can show up in a way that gives me that confidence. And you're also seeing, as we talk about modeling the growth mindset, my slides reset there. So talking about troubleshooting calmly, it's all right here. It's all happening for you live. The interesting piece around the power prep is, what else do you need to do? Oftentimes I find that the presentations that go the worst are the ones where I have under prepared, or I didn't give myself enough time to transition. And so even before this, I've now learned that anytime I'm doing a presentation, I'm blocking out several hours on my calendar to be fully ready and in the moment, ready to be of service, ready to provide value. So I'm less thinking about the chaos in my own life, and I'm focusing on what can I do to help you on the other side of this camera, or when we're in the physical space on the other side of the microphone. And then the lift the lid portion is interesting because John Maxwell has this concept called lift the lid, or the law of the lid is what he calls it. He says that our audience will never bring a higher level of enthusiasm, excitement, or engagement than we do as the presenter. So that's crazy to me that we were like, oh, our audience isn't engaged. Are we fully engaged? Are we engaged with them? Are we interested in their life? Are we willing to lift the lid, to literally take the cap off of what we think is possible, to allow more room for the audience to guide the conversation? That is a different approach than what most speakers do, is saying like, hey, I just want to tell you what is important for me to tell you. It's like, no, no, no. I've learned that what's most important is what's going on for the audience and how I can be of service to help them solve a problem, build community, feel safe, belong, feel like they can thrive. So this is what helps me focus on serving. If you're focused on serving, I promise you, I've seen people who have a stage presence that is like, what's happening right now? But they are focused on serving so well that people are like, I got so much value. I don't care that they just stood in one place, or I don't care that their camera quality was this or what they, all these other things that we were so concerned about seem to fall to the background when people get tremendous value out of our presentation. So you focus on serving, that will give you the confidence to a degree that none of these tips and tricks can touch. And finally, ask for help. People think that to stay confident means I don't need help. I'm like, no, no, no. I ask for help, which allows me to be confident because I know I have a support system. I told you earlier, mentor Dan Bland helped me to boom, refocus. Instead of thinking my dream was dead, he helped me to see that it's just delayed and I can shift my focus in that moment. In this example here, I'm asking Bethany to pop up on the mic. Adam's in the background. I know my co-founder Brian Limmerman's there too in the chat. I ask people for help, and I'm also the kind of person that folks want to help because they know I'm going to turn around and help other people as well. That's what gives me confidence. I don't think there's any other way to kind of give you a recipe for that besides confidence comes out of the practice and the modeling of a growth mindset. Right. So we'll pause there to have Bethany pop back up and see what folks are taking away. I see.
100%. So first, I missed a comment from Karmjeet from before when you were talking about how, like, really what the purpose of the MC is and bringing the audience's thoughts and questions to the forefront. So I did want to call that out. So thanks for that comment,
Right, like a
Karmjeet.
perfect practice of you doing that right now.
I know it's so cool to get to be part of this. It's a little meta, I feel like, what we're doing here, which I love.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the concept of, confidence because of my support system, and knowing that, as you move through your journey and, you're heading, from that awareness to that legacy in your career or wherever you're headed. The idea of, being confident in your support system and asking for help and leveraging other people. I got to say, as a speaker organizer, I get a lot of different personalities that come and work with me.
Okay.
And I have the people who, they're sort of relentlessly transactional, and that's okay because, there is quality in what they teach and what they bring. But it drains my energy to work with them because every time I hear from them, they're asking me for something, and I'm happy to help. But when I ask them for something, I'm not quite getting the same response. But then I have those speakers who, every time I ask for anything, they jump at it. And so what's happening is I give them an opportunity here, an opportunity there, an opportunity there, and we love working together. And people that, are always at the forefront of my mind when they say, hey, I need a great speaker that does this. I'm like, oh, this is the person you want to work with. Yes, they are great speakers and they're great at what they do, but because the relationship is so satisfying that, I'm confident putting them on stage. They're confident when they walk on stage. We know that there's this, there's this trust and there's this belonging in what we're doing. And that's really the best. Yeah, that's the best way for me to create opportunities for them, and they're creating opportunities for me too. So
I'm just gonna put the smiley face there.
oh,
We don't have emojis in right now, but that's
yeah, that's real life emojis. That's great. Okay, Karmjeet has another comment I want to bring.
Well, real quick, let me pause on what you just shared there
Oh
too,
yeah, of
because
course.
the big piece of what you just talked about too is going from transactional to transformational. We talk about promising, talking about transformational. Relationships make the difference between it being transactional. For example, we think about we're in an information overload, right? We can get all the information we want. We don't need speakers. People go see speakers because we make it relational and we help to translate all that's happening in the world, all this information into something that's actionable and gives people the ability to go towards thriving. but that requires us to have a relationship with them. So that the relationship is the link, is the big gap between transactional and transformational. So thanks for giving like real life examples for people to even understand that from this perspective of even selling ourselves to you as a meeting planner, especially at this level.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it affects everything you do in your life. If people love working with you, if they enjoy the relationship, that every door is open. Every door is open. Okay,
Mhm.
Karmjeet has another comment.
Let's go.
Love the lift your lit, where your audience won't bring more energy than you, so you need to bring it. That's huge. That is
And,
huge.
that becomes a challenge in the virtual space, right? Because folks are like, oh, I'm just giving, I don't get anything back. That's where the power prep comes into play too, right? What is going to help it feel rewarding to you, right? So, I go hard. Sometimes I'm like, I'm the only one in the room, and I'm like, I don't know who was on the other side, but I'm gonna pretend that they're having a great time. Then, so I rather imagine that versus assuming that because I don't have the engagement, like I think it's kind of the chicken and egg. Because I don't have the engagement, I'm not going to be engaged. It's like, no, my engagement is more likely to inspire them. They won't meet me. Like if I raise the bar here, they don't necessarily going to meet me all the way, but they're more likely to come up part way. That's huge for me. That's engagement in a virtual space right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it can be scary to put a lot of emotion out there when you're not seeing that feedback response, because as human beings, we're so used to the facial expression mirroring and matching the energy we put out. And in a virtual environment, you're not getting that. You're not getting somebody smiling back at you.
Hmm.
So you don't get that feedback. So it can be scary to put yourself out there as a speaker or presenter. But the more energy you put forth, you can't see it, but as human beings, again, it's reactionary. Like if you're
Hmm.
putting something amazing, funny, highly energetic out there, I can't help it. I'm smiling. I'm
Yeah,
smiling
yeah,
back here behind
exactly.
the screen because it's just automatic. So
I
awesome.
love it.
Thank you
And
so
yes,
much.
and yeah, thank you. And I will share with folks too, right? Like again, this is my energy. There are speakers I've watched who are like a whole other level of energy, and like I try to be them, and that killed me. Like I was not confident because I thought, like, I kept comparing. So it's like, please understand, your energy is that your engagement would be different. There's some speakers who are very like, boom, they're grounded, they're rooted. They don't necessarily do all this like hype that I do, but I watch them because I'm like, wow, that they're drawing me in.
Mhm.
So as we talk about the energy and the energy management, it's really important to know that people are looking for your version as well, and the confidence behind your version is what attracts them versus trying to be like me or some other speaker you see. Bring your version, and people are gonna be like, yes, that's the one I was looking for. I need that right now. And then that's how you again build that trust and connection. So yes, let's go.
Awesome. Amazing.
And
Cool.
I'll go back to screen sharing as we wrap up here. And so we covered a little bit, but I also pulled pieces in just to help y'all to resolve some of the things you put in the poll earlier. So just do me a favor, type the word yes in the chat if I help to resolve or give you tools for resolving at least one of the problems that you said earlier. You can type the word yes in the chat as we touched a little bit on connection, collaboration, and confidence. So you can see that we can certainly go deeper. And I invite you all to really connect with us afterwards. So again, my name is Kemy Joseph, and here's my contact info. I know they'll set us out with a link as well. So you're welcome to reach out to us directly, because most people have tons of follow-up questions. We're here to help you and provide that journey. And we last left off when we kicked off this call here, talking about this pathway of consumer equity and career equity. The reason we shared this earlier is because a lot of folks will take these tools and these shifts and it's like fantastic, but can you have consumer or customer lifetime value without employee lifetime value? We have not seen an organization that can disconnect that. In fact, there was one organization I went to go play paintball recently with my nephews. I have like nine siblings. I have like 15 nieces and nephews. So I went to go play paintball. It's going to be an awesome family experience. And when we're there, even though we reserved the spot, they did not have our spot. The equipment wasn't there. They were slammed. And we were obviously getting a little frustrated, but still trying to be as helpful as we can. And we said, okay, what can we do to help right now? We asked the person behind the desk, and they said, you know what? The best thing you can do for us right now is leave a negative review on Google or Yelp because we told our boss that we needed more help today. We told them that this was going to happen, and they didn't listen to us. So the best thing you can do for us to make sure your experience is better next time is to leave a negative review. So I ask you, can you have customer lifetime value without employee lifetime value? No. You cannot have consumer equity without providing career equity for your team. So it's important. The reason I say that is, especially as us as leaders, as folks who are out there trying to do the sales and marketing to get the traffic and conversion, we are either fueling fires or forward progress in our organization. So my call to action for you, if you've enjoyed this presentation, is to come see us during the Traffic and Conversion Summit to learn how to stop burning money. 3 ways to fuel progress, not fires, with DEI. There's going to be 2 opportunities for this. If you're in person, it's going to be Tuesday, September 14th at 12:15 p.m. PST, right? This is happening in San Diego. And then if you are virtual, it'll be Wednesday, September 15th at 12 p.m. So if you want to see how we take this from just talking about virtual engagement to actually building a company culture by design to make sure that you're taking care of your clients, your consumers, your customers, and you're also building a company culture that takes care of your employees. Let's meet again during the Traffic and Conversion Summit. So for now, I'll say thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kemy. I think I speak for all of us when I say that it's just so refreshing, such an enjoyable experience. Loved this conversation. Guys, if you have to go, I understand, but if you want to drop in a question for Kemy, we can take a couple seconds to answer a question or two. But if not, please reach out to Kemy. Please join us at Traffic and Conversion Summit. You've got, like he said, 2 ways to experience his presentation and a lot of other great content and speakers as well. We've got the virtual ticket. We've got the on-site ticket. We're doing incredible stuff for health and safety. And thank you for calling that out earlier, Kemy, because safety is definitely our top priority. I'm taking a look here at our questions just to make sure. We've got just a lot of thank yous. Cecilia had to leave early. She said, I need to transition, but this was absolutely wonderful. Just said, thanks for another quality presentation with great value. Sounds like this is a fan of yours. Just that he's going to be maybe back again, I'm sure. But yeah, just a lot of this was so amazing. So thank you for being here. Can't wait to see you on site at San Diego. It's going to be wonderful to take this virtual friendship, make it real life. So
it's
guys,
already real.
It's real, yeah, guys. And if you're in San Diego, please reach out to us. Please meet Kemy, shake his hand, and if you're virtual, do the same. Give us a shout out. We're glad you're here, and we can't wait to see you again. Cool. All right, that's it from me, Kemy. Any final thoughts before we head out?
I just thank you again, everybody. And as you watch the replay, just know it's practice that's going to continue to give you that progress.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. See you soon and catch you in San Diego. Thanks, Kemy.
Yeah, thank you, Bethany. Bye.
Bye.